Welcome to Web3 and social media. I am your host, Jennifer Navarrete, and as it says there, I'm a podcast producer and blockchain evangelist, among many other things. And the reason why I am coming to you today for Web3 and social media is to introduce those of us creators who have been doing this for a fair amount of time to the opportunity that exists in blockchain-based social media, but not just with blockchain-based social media, also with podcasting, also with fitness, also with gaming, also with just about every single thing under the sun that you do online, blogging, photos, live streaming, like right now. If you're seeing me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, it's also going to the blockchain. Yeah. So this is going out into another space that is not traditional Web 2 type of spaces. So I do this to illustrate that the things that you do right now in this exact moment in time, whether that's microblogging on Twitter, blogging on your personal blog, creating YouTube videos, posting photos to Instagram, using fitness tracking like ActiFit, not ActiFit, what is it called? Fitbit, Fitbit, Nike Plus. I'm trying to think. Map My Ride, Strava. Insert name of thing that you use to track your fitness. Or if you like to listen to podcasts, that's something else that you can do. So pretty much every single thing that you can think of that you do right now on traditional Web 2 spaces can be done on the blockchain. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my story. My story really comes from being a creator for many, many years and being at a conference in August 2017 and hearing this gentleman up on stage, Michael Taggart, talk about cryptocurrency and about fiat and about the history of currency and just all kinds of things that was way over my head back in August of 2017. But what he said at the very end of his time up on stage, because I was at a conference, an entrepreneur conference, he said, "Did you know that you can blog on the blockchain and people will pay you? You can earn for blogging." Well, that my ears perked up at that. I'm like, well, I blog. So I created an account to blog on the blockchain, a blockchain, and I wrote a few posts, and it was very lonely. I was by myself. I didn't know anybody. I didn't understand the nuances. I knew how to blog, but I didn't understand how the blockchain worked, and I didn't have anybody in the community. So after those few posts, making a few pennies, I walked away because I just thought, that's not for me. And then a few years later, in March of 2017, my very good friend Shane Mata said, "Hey, I've been doing this thing for a couple years. You should take a look at it." And I was like, "All right." And he started showing me what he was doing on a different blockchain. And I was like, "Hey, that kind of looks familiar, but even better," because at the time, in 2017, I was only blogging. What he was showing me was more like things that we could do on traditional social media or video or podcasting or anything else. And I was like, "Oh, that looks like maybe creating content on the blockchain has grown up. It's matured." So I joined and became an active content creator on the blockchain. And that was so from March of 2021 until now. I have been leaning all in. And why am I leaning all in and why am I coming to you on mostly Web 2 platforms? Well, I've spent a whole lot of time developing these networks and the folks that I'm connected to on these Web 2 platforms. Why would I give that up? So when I talk about the blockchain as a destination for your content, it isn't for you to stop doing what you've spent years, and in some cases, for some of us, over a decade creating. It's really to add another destination for your content. And that's really the key. It's not taking away, it's adding. And what I found when I started doing A/B split testing was that when I was creating content on the blockchain, even though I was relatively new and didn't have a lot of followers, that when I created content, typically people would engage with that content, although on the blockchain it's called curation. Why? Because there's a reward system tied to it. And it's maybe a fraction of a cent or maybe a few cents or maybe a few dollars. And I like to think of that as the change at the bottom of your pocket at the end of the day, not anything to write home about in and of itself, but over time, as it accumulates, that piggy bank gets full, all of a sudden it becomes something to write home about. So I approach this as that. As a creator, I am going to create content anyway. As a creator, you are going to create content anyway. Why wouldn't we consider adding the blockchain as a destination for that content? Well, we absolutely would. We'd be crazy not to, or maybe not crazy, but it wouldn't make sense not to. And so what I've done over the last over 2 years is that I've done a lot of A/B split testing. I do a lot of evangelism for being a blockchain based, social media based creator. I host Web3 events like this. I do workshops. I teach events. I do coaching. There's all kinds of things. Is this mainstream? Nope, not at all. Not mainstream, not yet. But I was someone who was podcasting in 2005 and blogging in that time. And I was on Facebook in 2006 and on Twitter in 2007. And, you get the drift, right? I'm an early adopter. I'm there before the mainstream gets there. Why? Because I like to try new things. I'm going to push the buttons and pull the levers and see what it can do. In this case, it's easy for me to see that blockchain-based social media or content creation on the blockchain is going to be something that becomes mainstream eventually. It'll take time, and or some of the Web 2 platforms are going to begin to adopt some of the Web 3 or blockchain type behavior. Now, they're not going to shift ownership, but that's a conversation for another day. But it could be that there's potential for rewards within the same content you'd be creating on places like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and other places. So that's my story. This is why I am hosting this series, and more specifically, why I'm hosting this specific series right now, because I've done Web3 101 30-day challenges. I've done Web3 101 7-day challenges. I've hosted Web3 101 weekly spaces on Twitter. I've done a lot of this. I did a 10 or 12-day a live audio / live video stream on LinkedIn a few months back. So why am I revisiting this again? Well, I'm so glad you asked. The reason I'm revisiting this again is because last month, I was trying to think, how far away was it? In April, late April, April 28th, 29th, and 30th, I hosted a 3-day event called Creator Camp. And during those 3 days, I talked about the creator journey, how we all have a mission and a message to share with the world. But the challenge becomes sometimes we have so many ideas and so many things that could be our mission, so many things that could be our message. How do we identify what those things are? And so I talked about experimentation. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm constantly experimenting all the time. It's something that I'm known for, but I also hope it's something that you take a look at and consider adopting for yourself. Why? Because it allows you the freedom to try new things without the burden of feeling like you have to have everything on lock. When you experiment, there's a question mark at the end of that. You don't know what the end result will be. You have hopes, you have expectations, but you don't know. None of us do. That's why it's an experimentation. If we knew, it would be called a for sure. So the freedom to experiment, and not just experiment by yourself, but experiment in public, building in public, it fast tracks your learning. It fast tracks the way that you do things. So when I talk about pushing the buttons and pulling the levers, I also talk about showing everybody what's going on. So when folks take my workshop, you're literally seeing every single thing I'm doing. You're seeing what I'm earning. I mean, it's very, very, pull the curtain back, be a fly on the wall, that kind of thing. And there's real power to that. And I think that's what's missing a lot in the modern day. There's a lot of the conversation of this thing is amazing, it's successful, it's this or that, but what's the real grinding it out aspect of it? There's some real truth and purism to that. And I feel like open experimentation or building in public allows for that. So going back to Creator Camp, I talked about, finding your mission, and talked about experimentation being a key to finding your mission. And you may have more than one, but let's start with one. And once you have gone through the process that I talked about during the day 1 of Creator Camp, then you have what your mission is, at least the first one you're going to work on. And now it's time to share your message. So you start sharing your message, and you share your message so that the people who need to hear it, or who want to hear it, or who are your people, can discover you. So you can grow an audience, so you can develop a brand, so that you can eventually accrue enough numbers to be someone who, let's say on Facebook, you have 1,000 subscribers to your YouTube channel and you have 4,000 watch hours in the last 12 months. Guess what? Now you qualify for their partner program. And so that's a long grinding process, right? The traditional model of being a creator is that you are a creator, you create content, and eventually, someday, off into the future, you have enough of a brand, you've established your brand, you have enough followers, you have enough of an audience that sponsors will come to you, or the platforms themselves will look at what you've done and say, you now qualify for this because you've met what we say is the minimum viable to be a creator who earns on our platforms. Totally get it. That's the way it is. But I wanted to shift that whole traditional way of doing things on its head. So then on day 3, we talked about monetize. Day 1, mission. Day 2, message. Day 3, monetize. So what if at every turn of everything that you are doing as a creator, whether you're experimenting, whether you're like, I don't need to experiment, Jennifer, I totally know what my mission and my message are, and I've been saying it for years. Great. Fantastic. Yes. But what if every single piece of content you create, no matter what it is, no matter what kind it is, was something that could be monetizable from the very single post that exists out in the world, but it exists on the blockchain? And that's the reality. If you're a creator on the blockchain, even if you started on day 1 from your very first post on your very first day, there's an opportunity to monetize there. A guarantee? No, not guarantee. Opportunity to monetize. It exists just because you created something and put it online, put it on the blockchain. And it exists in a global aspect, meaning there's no algorithm that limits what you can and can't see. There's no gaming the system. There's no trying to follow memes or trying to follow trends and trying to do this. If you're a creator, create your content. Lean into your natural gifting and talk about the thing that you want to talk about. People who want to hear that, who want to see that, who want to learn from you, they'll find you. You'll find your community. And it's not about the numbers. It's about the impact. It's about being able to reach people all over the world, truly reach people all over the world, and to see people from all over the world creating their content in their language, in their way, without algorithms, without chasing trends, without trying to, become a meme, without trying to go viral. Sure, you can on the blockchain, but just the very act of creating content in and of itself has value. Who gets to decide what that value is? The folks who engage with your content. On the blockchain, they're called curators because they're curating content they find value in. Is it yours? Maybe. Is it mine? Maybe. I can tell you that when I create content on the blockchain, I have zero idea whether it will be something that others find value in or not. Sometimes I put a lot of time and effort into something that I'm like, this is an amazing post, or this is an amazing video, or this is an amazing something. People are going to love it. And it's crickets. Maybe a few people engage with it and curate it. And I'm like, okay. And other times I just rattle off a microblog, like something like a tweet, but it's on the blockchain, so it's called something else. I just rattle off something like 1 or 2 sentences, just something, stream of consciousness, and that blows up. And I'm like, okay. So there's a real wonderfulness to just being yourself. Like there's no need to chase anything. Just create the content you want to create without worrying about algorithms or without worrying about trends or memes or whatever. Just do you. Do you. Create content you want to create because it's burning a fire inside of you and it's got to get out into the world. There's a reason there's a fire inside of you for that content, for that mission, for that message. Why are we chasing algorithms? Why are we chasing memes? Why are we chasing viral things? Because the algorithm will then pop it to the top. You are already someone. You're already creating content that should pop to the top. It should pop to the top for the people who want to see it, for your right fit audience. And on the blockchain, I am experiencing that. So at Creator Camp, I talked about mission, message, monetize, and the fact that on the blockchain, every single aspect of your creator journey, whether you're experimenting, whether you're starting from day 1, whether it's post on day 1, is something that can be monetized. You don't have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours to qualify. You're already qualified from day 1 because you're a human being on planet Earth spinning around the sun, and you're a creator and you have something to share and something to say. And there's others who may want to see it, hear it, watch it. So that shifted into the Creator Accelerator, which is something for folks who want accountability, a community, who want a guide in doing that for themselves. And then I also have workshops. You want to see behind the scenes? You want me to pull back the curtain? You want to see what I'm earning, what I'm creating, what I'm posting on the blockchain? That's what the workshop is for. It's a 4-hour workshop. Matter of fact, the next one is this Friday, but I do them throughout the year because people asked me, they said, Jennifer, we're hearing you talk about that stuff, but we'd really like for you to show us, to train us. Do you have a course? Do you have a workshop? And I was like, I can make a workshop. So last year in March of 2022, I created my first workshop because in January I did a 30-day challenge, blockchain creators, just trying to go live on Twitter Spaces talking about what I was doing on the blockchain. And people are like, we love what you're doing, we want more. So I created workshops. And then I heard, people like, we love what you're doing, we want more. So I'm like, okay, here's a community, here's an event, here's this. So I'm doing it because number one, I'm an evangelist for this. I have a mission and a message for it, but also based on what people are asking for. So after the creator camp on April 28th, 29th, and 30th, and after I went and created a Creator Accelerator, I thought, you know what, this is a good time to revisit the concepting of Web3 and social media. Because even though I've done Twitter Spaces, Wisdom, LinkedIn Audio, LinkedIn Video, I've done this, I've written blog posts, I'm hosting events, it's not mainstream. Not everybody's talking about this. And if they are, maybe they're talking about actual cryptocurrency, or maybe they're talking about NFTs, or maybe they're talking about decentralized finance. And you're like, you may be saying, much like I do, that's not my world. What is my world is blogging, tweeting, posting photos on Instagram, live streaming, posting videos on YouTube. I like to go take a walk. I like to podcast. All of the things that I do, the fitness, the movement, the podcasting, everything that I do, I discovered has a place on the blockchain, but with the opportunity for earnings, not guarantee, opportunity for rewards. So it's an interesting thing because you're going to begin to hear more about this from others, not just me, and you may have heard from others. Find the person that speaks plain English to you, or whatever language is your language, but find someone who speaks plainly and simply and easily so that you can understand how blockchain-based social media can maybe be something that you should consider. I think adding it as another destination for your content is a great way to start. I also recommend starting with one or two things. In my case, I liked microblogging, or I like tweeting, and I like blogging. So when I joined the blockchain in March of 2021, again, I started microblogging and blogging. And that was all I wanted to do, even though there was a whole lot more out there. It was new, and I didn't want to be overwhelmed because it's overwhelming. I started simply, and once I got a handle on it, then I started adding and adding and adding. Now I do everything on the blockchain. I podcast there, I live stream, I upload videos, I blog, I do social media, I upload photos. Everything. I'm doing, when I'm walking and I have my fitness stuff, that's going to the blockchain. There isn't anything that I do that doesn't happen also as another destination on the blockchain. So this Web3 and social media weekly series is meant to invite you to consider, to look at, to investigate, to research, to learn more about what blockchain could possibly be for you as a creator. I can share with you what it's been for me. There's people who have taken my workshops who are on the blockchain. There are others who took the workshop just because they were curious. There's people who attended the 3-day event. There's folks who are wanting to kind of dip their toe into the stream, but they want a guide. And I can tell you, having a guide makes all the difference. When my buddy Shane said, hey, I've been doing this thing for a couple years, I think you should take a look at it, he became me and my family's guide. The reason in August of 2017 why I didn't stay blogging on the blockchain was because I was there by myself and I didn't have anybody to guide me. And I think having community and a guide and accountability makes all the difference in the world. So come back next week because we are going to have these